Thank you, Chair Rosen. Thanks for being here. So I think we all would agree that the best way to get things done is have a plan. So thank you for doing this. How does the Department of Commerce plan on implementing the strategy so that the goals outlined in the plan are met? And who'd you consult with to create the strategy?
Thank you, Ranking Member Scott. You're exactly right. We need a plan, and now we need to implement. In consulting on this strategy, first and foremost, we looked at the Travel and Tourism Advisory Board, which, as was referenced earlier, is a very important body in providing recommendations to Secretary Raimondo, including the target that was selected for trying to reach 90 million visitors. That was a recommendation from TTAB based on economic modeling that they had done. We also did extensive consultation, not just, of course, across departments and agencies, but with external stakeholders. This included my recent travel to Florida to attend IPW, the industry's premier event, where we had the strategy in hand, but we're still continuing the conversations as we are now about how do we make it work? How do we make sure that these commitments are seen and felt by communities across the country?
Thank you. As we know in Florida, tourism, and I'm sure the same thing is true for Nevada, tourism can be a huge revenue generator for the state. Does the Department of Commerce have an estimate on how much tax revenue will be generated by achieving the goals in this strategy?
Thank you, Ranking Member Scott. You're exactly right about it being a revenue generator. Of course, we're trying to reach the goal of getting to $279 billion in spend for this 90 million visitors. I don't have a number offhand on revenue beyond that, but would be happy to take that back. We are exceedingly focused on the job creation aspect, and as the strategy notes, 1 in 20 jobs are linked to travel and tourism, and we will be focused like a laser on getting these numbers up.
Great. There's been a series of holiday weekends this year that we've seen large numbers of delayed and canceled flights, disrupting people's travel, which hampers tourism's full comeback. How has this been addressed in your strategy, and are you working with other departments and stakeholders to mitigate these travel disruptions?
Thank you, Ranking Member Scott. You've touched on another important issue about the workforce, and this has come up repeatedly as well, and making sure that a labor shortage is not a bottleneck to the travel and tourism industry's continued recovery. What we're doing with the Department of Labor and with others is trying to make sure that our programming and our outreach is working with industry to think about career pathways, to think about apprenticeship programs, to think about how funding and assistance can be geared towards solving this challenge. And to your previous point, Senator, about working with industry, I'm hearing this a lot in my consultations about the need to solve an immediate short-term problem, but also the need to make these career pathways attractive on a going forward basis to make sure that the industry, not just right now, but in years to come, has the people that it needs to serve this influx of visitors that we're hoping for.
Thank you. The cruise industry is a vital part of Florida's tourism industry, as you know, as well as many other states represented here in this committee. How has the Department of Commerce worked with the CDC to safely ease COVID requirements for the cruise industry?
Thank you, Ranking Member Scott. This has been a close collaboration. It is indeed a very important industry. I know how important it is to your state, and not to keep referencing my family, but we've cruised many a time out of Florida as well. Secretary Raimondo has been focused, especially working with the White House, on making sure that there is a balanced perspective of thinking about economic security and jobs, as well as thinking about the advice of public health experts and making these decisions going forward. I would say when it comes to remaining COVID policies and what next steps would look like, that based on what we're seeing in data and on the COVID situation, there is an intent to transition to normal operations. I think there'll be more coming in that space. And finally, I would note that the Cruise Lines International Association, from the numbers that I've seen from them, are hoping that nearly all of their memberships are back in the water and sailing by the end of this summer. So we will continue to keep supporting this progress.
So what do you think are what's going to be our limitations to fully recovering our tourism industry and getting all of our businesses reopened?
Thank you, Ranking Member Scott. That gives me a wide lane here to talk about some of the challenges that we know that we're going to confront. Collaboration will be key in working on visa wait times and getting those numbers down. That's a persistent issue, especially since the COVID-19 pandemic caused the closure of so many embassies and consulates. And now as the State Department is restaffing those, they're hopeful that the backlog will decrease. The workforce development issues are key, as I've talked about both the immediate problem and on a going forward basis, making sure that we have the right people ready to go. As part of that, we want to make sure that equity and diversity and inclusion are key themes to broaden the inclusion both for attracting personnel, but also the communities that are affected by this. We are also going to have to be very mindful that there may be future public health crises, there may be other issues that surprise us. We set an ambitious number to try to reach, and we're going to keep working with stakeholders to try to reach that based on what we know now.
Can I ask one more question? Oh,
Can we let
Sure.
Senator Hickenlooper, then I'll come
Yeah.
right back to you.